The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We got ourselves a fantastic show. It's just a fantastic time to be in the world right now. The World Cup we're really in the thick of it. As we record this show, we just finished watching an epic Portugal-Croatia match. Is that one done, Producer Lauren? Did we get a final on that?
Technically, it's still going.
Is there like a minute left?
We're 9 minutes over when they said it was going to stop, so I got nothing right now. Nothing.
Okay. Well, watch me have just spoiled this for Portugal because I said that it's over, and now some Croatian dude's going to kick the ball in the net and tie it up. But that was a great game. This has been a great World Cup. Nice to have the Americans still in it, which is an unusual feeling for me as an American watching America in the World Cup. And maybe by the time we record this, that won't be the case anymore. But right now, I'm riding high. It's been fantastic soccer. We got America's birthday coming up this weekend. Happy birthday, America. I'm in the thick of that as well because I have a lot of clients who are very involved with doing 4th of July concert events, and I have artists who are playing at these concerts. And it's a busy weekend for your boy and for your boy's clients. And I'm thrilled to be wishing America a happy 250th, but boy, I will be glad when those festivities are over and I get to begin the 251st year of America just by sleeping off what this 4th of July weekend has done to me and will do to me. Excited for today's show. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about. We have a fantastic guest coming up in the second segment. We're going to be joined by singer-songwriter Amar Faruqi. He's got a new album out called 12. Really great story. This guy is a former, or I shouldn't say former, because once a Fulbright scholar, always a Fulbright scholar, but a Fulbright scholar, became a business executive, and then transitioned away from that to go into music. Really, really inspiring. Put out a great albums, written amazing songs, successfully funded a Kickstarter. Got a lot of great things that we can talk to him about. I'm looking forward to that conversation and looking forward to having that conversation with our co-host this week. Happy to have him again, Zach Sloan. Hi, buddy.
I finally defeated you, Ryan. You've had me 2 weeks in a row against your will. You're welcome.
Oh, I do want to thank you for filling in for us last week and coming in at your regularly scheduled time this week. I'm glad you avoided the impulse to be like, well, I already was on his show last week. He's got to find somebody else.
No, actually, when I got the email saying who the guest was, I threw his music up on Spotify. I'm always excited to be here, but I'm more excited when we have a guest that their music I really enjoy. So I'm happy to be here, man. But also, I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh, what happened, man?
Is today not the day that the Declaration of Independence was officially signed and put into effect? It wasn't voted on until July 4th. But I think some historians might argue that today, July the 2nd, is actually America's birthday.
Is that right?
Yep. I looked it up just before I said that to make sure I didn't get it completely wrong. And I still probably did. But that's me being pedantic.
And what more American virtue is there than being pedantic?
I always say technically right is the best right.
But the answer is no, it's not, because it's not America's birthday yet, because I have a great deal of legal work that I need to get done for clients starting tomorrow. I have one business day left to get a bunch of insurance forms and contracts signed and paperwork done and permits approved. And I have one more business day to get it done. So today can't be the birthday because it means I'm out of time, Zach.
All right. I take it all back, listeners. I take it all back.
That's all I ask, my friend. So as I think about our guest coming up in the second segment, I think about, Zach, your shirt that you're wearing right now. because you are in fact wearing a Dungeons and Dragons shirt, which I think is really, really cool. And like one of my regrets in life is that I never made Dungeons and Dragons a bigger part of my life. I've told this to people before. On paper, I have all of the makings of somebody who would get way too into Dungeons and Dragons, like big nerd, love pop culture. Plus, I'm a theater kid, and like the theater kid to Dungeons and Dragons pipeline is a straight line.
Straight shot.
And I think the only thing that kept me out of Dungeons and Dragons is I love the idea of, you know, getting to play a character, getting sucked into a story. That all seems really, really fun. I think the papers scare me, right? The charts and like having to remember like what spells you have and what weapons and like, oh, if I cast this, it has this effect on that. Like, I just want to get into a story, and I feel like this is like doing your taxes.
Well, Ryan, I gotta tell you this. I have good news for you. Modern day Dungeons and Dragons is less about bookkeeping and more about just telling a fun story.
So they've dumbed it down for me, is what you're saying.
They've dumbed it down for everybody. Like nobody, like there is a precious few number of people that love bookkeeping, and we call those accountants. I will also say that lawyers do very well at D&D because there are a lot of rules, and lawyers are very good at like looking through the rules and parsing the text, and you know, heaven forbid going back to what the author originally meant. I think you'd be good at it, man. I have for a couple of years now sort of like phantom dreamed about Twitch streaming a BTB co-host game of D&D. Just like a one-night game where we get some of the co-hosts, get producer Lauren in, and we just do a fun game and just Twitch stream it.
Don't threaten me with a good time. And of course, like Elisa Rockdock, who is a very experienced D&D player, would be all over that. I don't know if there's enough money in the world to get Gideon King to play, but I think that would be like the most fun is somehow getting him involved. But anyway, the reason why I bring up Dungeons and Dragons with respect to our guest, Amar Faruqi, because a lot of people are saying, well, how do you possibly tie those together? Is here's what I'm saying about him, okay? He's so good at so many different things, right? Because he's an amazing artist. You were saying you love his music. I think his music's great too. But like, he's also really good at business, and he's also really smart. He's a Fulbright scholar. That's really hard to do. I feel like if he were a Dungeons and Dragons character, all of his stats would be maxed out. And like, if I came to your Dungeons and Dragons session with you as a DM, Zach, and I said, my character is Amar Faruqi, and I showed you the stats and it was all maxed out, you wouldn't let me sit at the table. You'd be like, that's not a fair character. He's got too much power. Like, you're going to ruin the game, Ryan.
That is correct. However, the beautiful thing about D&D is if somebody's too powerful, you just make up something that's more powerful to mess with them. The mind games are endless, Ryan.
You seem like you'd be a fun DM, sir.
They all say that till they cry.
The DM's credo.
Don't get attached to your character. That's all I'm saying.
See, now I want to play Dungeons and Dragons with you. That sounds like a blast. Somebody told me there's actually a Dungeons and Dragons-esque game, but specifically for Star Trek. And
totally.
maybe that might appeal to me. I gotta look more into what that entails, because that could be fun.
That would actually be a lot of fun too.
So one of the things I want to talk to you about this week, Zach, is kind of building off of a discussion we had last week about Clive Davis and the unfortunate loss of a record executive legend. And one of the things that we talked about with the Clive Davis discussion was the idea that Davis kind of represented this dying breed in the music industry of record label executives that embrace sort of the traditional artist development model of what a record label did, right? The Clive Davises of the world took artists that were unmolded clay, that had a lot of raw talent, didn't have a big fan base, didn't have a big following, but Clive Davis saw the potential in a lot of these artists, in the Alicia Keyses, in the Bruce Springsteens, and helped develop them, helped them find their audience, helped bring them to the world, and basically served a purpose for them promotionally that they couldn't have accomplished on their own, arguably. And with the loss of Clive Davis, I think we're also kind of seeing the loss of what his old industry was and what record labels are, because The more modern record label is one that doesn't follow the Clive Davis model. Modern record labels today don't really focus on development. They're more about, before we'll even sign you, you need to show us that you have a big social media following, that you have big streaming numbers, that basically you've already done the work for us as the label. We need something that's already been promoted, and then we will sign you. And my argument to that has always been, well, if a label wants all of that, what service is the label providing? What are they doing for you? And that was a big message in my Break the Business book. It's something we've talked about a lot on this podcast. Sort of lamenting, not that we've ever liked record labels to begin with, but at least the old model tried to develop artists, and we're not seeing that as much today. And I was intrigued when I was reading through Hypebot earlier this week, and I found an article from artist manager Ritz Collages that basically kind of echoed a lot of these points. I thought it was an interesting article called "The Label Model is Training Artists Not to Need Labels." And the article was basically, what?
You'll never fool me, Ryan Kairalla. I read this article. I know that's you who wrote it. All respect to the actual author, but this could have been an article written by you.
I mean that name. Kairalla. Like I could definitely, and both of us start with an R. We're both RKs in our initials.
Saying. Ryan, you cannot fool me. I know this is you.
I mean, if it was me and like this was a pen name, like nom de plume, like I didn't even exactly do a good job of hiding it, right?
I think it's great. I think hiding in plain sight's the way to do it, dude.
Yeah, like same initials, No, I could understand you reaching that conclusion because we both feel so similarly about this. And yeah, Koladzej's article talks about how today's modern record labels are basically not developing artists. They want artists to come to them already ready to go. And, it creates a situation where labels are making themselves obsolete. I'll quote directly from the article here. Quote, "The strange contradiction sitting inside the modern music business is that to get a label interested, you have to do a lot of the work you once hoped a label would do. Find the audience, find the rooms, find the radio people, tell the story, watch the numbers, and by the time they finally come around, you may already know how to survive without them. The way labels reduce their risk is also the way they teach artists to need them less." And I'll read a little bit further here because there's a lot of great nuggets in this. "A good label can still be a canon, but a small label that fronts some recording costs, tells the artist to tour constantly, provides no meaningful booking help, no real press machine, no radio strategy, no audience development, no clear market plan, and no visible lift, that is not a canon." Man, as I was reading that passage of the article, Zach, I was just getting like terrifying flashbacks of like what actual artists I've worked with go through that are signed to labels and even signed to certain managers who will do this, right? Where you sign yourself to one of these labels that doesn't give you a lot of support. You make a multi-year commitment to them, 3 albums that the label controls, God forbid, 5 albums that the label controls. And then when you sign that deal, maybe the label throws you a little bit of love at the beginning. They put a little bit of a budget behind your first release. They give you they do a little bit of playlisting for you. They do a little bit of PR for you. And if it doesn't hit right away, if they don't catch lightning in a bottle, they disappear. And you are completely and totally on your own, except for any such time that you try to get out of said label deal and suddenly they pounce into action with their teams of lawyers and tell you that they have a contract and that there's no way out. And so like when I saw this article talking about how like no press help, no promotional help, I was like, oh, I've seen this way too many times.
Well, and I think that this article highlights something that we've talked about numerous times, but I also very much appreciated, is that when the author who is running his band finally gets approached by a label after years of reaching out and trying to get on a label, and they say, yes, here's what we can do. He went, I'm already doing all of that. What are you actually providing? And you hit the line from the article that I wanted to really talk about. The label teaches you not to need them when they do this type of stuff. And they have unwittingly, I think, developed a lot of independent artists who are able to do everything that the label says that they want to do, but they, of course, don't. And this artist really highlighted it through his article between being a attorney, because this guy's also a lawyer, another reason it might be you, and a musician.
I really didn't do a good job hiding my identity on this, huh?
No, you really messed up here, Ryan. But this guy does.
This is like Clark Kent, and the only difference between me and Superman is a pair of glasses. I did a terrible job with my secret superhero identity.
Well, I think the one reason I do know that this is not you is that in this article he talks about how he loves himself a good spreadsheet, and I've never heard you say that. So
yeah, clearly, because that's why I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. My aversion to spreadsheets.
You know, and I would argue that's not necessary, but that's not the point of this podcast anymore. No, this is a fantastic lesson, and it's something that you've been talking about since before I was on the show. That ask yourself, when somebody's, not just a label, but when somebody comes to provide a service, are they providing you something that you're not already doing yourself? Are they going to do it better than you are doing it? Oftentimes the answer is no, because you know your fan base and you know your music better than anybody.
That's exactly right. And I have often, when I've seen clients of mine get these label deals from these unknown labels that aren't offering any kind of financial support, and don't seem to have a clear plan, I usually can root out whether there are these kind of pretenders that aren't a canon, as the article puts out, by just asking them like a very simple question in their contracts. I usually say to the label, how are you going to support my client? What's your plan? And they say, oh, we're going to give them a big marketing push. We're going to make sure that we do playlisting. We're going to, pay for their tour support, blah, blah, blah. And I always say the same thing back to them. Put that in the contract. You're saying you're going to give them marketing support? Show me the budget. Guarantee in the contract that there's going to be a marketing budget, not just for this album, but for every album you're going to sponsor. There's tour support. Show me the number. What's the number of the tour support? How much is it going to be? When is it triggered? And every time you ask one of these labels to actually put their commitment in black and white and put numbers behind that commitment and timetables behind that commitment, then they start to go, oh, well, we got to see how things go and we don't want to pre-negotiate, blah, 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 blah. And that's how you know, okay, this is somebody who's going to sign you and then put a little bit of money behind one campaign in the first 6 weeks, and then you're never going to hear from these people again for the next 3 years.
Okay, let me ask you this then, Ryan, because you've done these deals before. I have not. What is there anything to be said for a one album deal? Like, we're getting in and we're going to do one album, and then that's it. And if after one album, if everything goes well, we choose to work with you again, and the feeling's mutual, we can set that up. But we're going to do a one album deal. Does that alleviate these problems?
I mean, there would be a lot to be said for a one album deal. They are a rarity. Unless you are like one of these established artists, right? Who has the big following, who has the big numbers and has the leverage to be able to tell the label we're only doing one album. But if given the label's druthers, they're never going to just agree to a one album deal because they know that the real money's going to come if that first album pops off, and then albums 2 and 3 are the ones that make money. They don't want to only have you signed for one album and then that album is a success and now they have no way of tying you to them to be part of that future, right? Like you wouldn't, you don't want to sign a rookie baseball player to a 1-year contract because you want those extra years. So I would love to see more short-term record deals that are only about this one album at this one time, and then after this project's over, we all go our separate ways, artist and label, unless we decide to work together again on the next album. I would love to see more deals like that. They are a rarity because that's just not how the labels want to do things. They want you to be tied to them. They want to force you to be part of their future.
It's just an interesting... I mean, I know it comes to me because Prince used to do this. After he had his famous fallout with, was it Virgin? He then would do one album deals with whoever because he was Prince and he could get whatever.
Because he's Prince, yeah.
Yeah, he's Prince. And it's exactly what you said. Some people have that sort of leverage. But I'm wondering if at some point, as the labels have shot themselves in the foot, and artists are saying no and no and no to these offers, are artists slowly clawing back some of that leverage? That maybe not the one album deal, but better deals might be coming down the road at some point. Is that a possibility you see, Ryan, or are the labels too entrenched?
I think what we're going to start to see, and we're already seeing it more and more, is something that's more akin to like a distribution deal or an administration deal or a licensing deal, where, for example, there's no reason why an label needs to own your album, to own your masters as a work for hire. That's always been the standard in the industry. That's one of, if you go back to the old Clive Davis industry, that's always kind of been how it's been. But there's no reason why a label needs to own your album to be able to distribute it. But we are starting to see some artists chip away at that and own their masters, or at least partially own their masters as part of their record deals. There's no reason why a label gets to collect all the money and only pay the artist a tiny little royalty that has to get recouped from whatever advance or recording cost the label fronts. But we're starting to see artists chip away at that. Artists are saying, hey, why can't we just do this like a venture capital deal? I own 50% of the profits. You own 50% of the profits. Once our costs are recouped from all of the revenues, we split the profits 50-50. Why can't we do it like that? And you're starting to see some labels begin to embrace that model, but it's slow. It's, the label's always been very resistant. The music industry has always been very resistant to change in that regard. But again, more and more, it just comes back to what this article was talking about. Like, I don't think we're getting to the point where there's no label deal that makes sense for an artist. Like whatever, like the label isn't providing any sort of meaningful value that you want to cut them in and give them a slice of the pie, particularly as with like the expansion of streaming and how little streaming pays out. It's becoming a smaller and smaller pie that you're not going to be able to get full if you have to give a big slice of that pie to somebody who's not doing enough for you to get it.
And also, I think it's worth repeating, because it wasn't explicitly put in the article. The label also wants a cut of your merch, right? And so where
your live performances, and if you write a book, 360 deals.
So even in the event that they can provide you with the tour support, yada yada yada, there's no guarantee that it actually financially is going to make sense. In fact, it's incentivized basically for it not to make sense for you, because the label's trying to suck up all of the deal, or all of the money. So is this then the door? And I suspect the answer is no, because it's expensive. Is this now the time where smaller, more artist-friendly labels need to start popping up? Because there is actually an opportunity to help these people if you're willing to risk it a little bit alongside the artist.
I'd like to see a more VC-style model take hold in the industry, right? Like, we should be treating record deals more like any sort of venture capital transaction. Like, the artist should be one of the partners. If people invest money in the project, they should be partners. They all get together and form a company. That company, distributes the album, and then whatever money it makes after the costs are recouped, everybody is paid based on their ownership of the enterprise. Like, labels make what should be a very simple business transaction a lot more complicated with a bunch of royalty formulas and copyright quirks and everything else. I don't know what the model is, except to me, the only model that seems to make viable, sustainable financial sense is just one where the artist does it independently and contracts with entities like distribution companies to help them get their music out there. And I don't see a model where giving a label a substantial cut makes financial sense unless that label is really bringing you a ton of value, like a giant advance and real artist development and, an opportunity to own your masters long term. But that's becoming a bigger and bigger rarity too.
Well, and I mean, the more we talk about, the more I think of, if you have a band, let's just say hypothetically you have a band of 4 or 5 members, and you split these duties up between booking, pitching to, playlist pitching, radio pitching, all this. If you split all of these duties up amongst the band members, you basically are going to be doing everything the label's going to do. Because in my experience, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, labels rarely allocate huge swaths of people to help an artist. It's usually like 1 or 2 people who are just sort of going through the motions, trying to get something to pop, hoping that they really just catch that lightning in a bottle.
The label that's working on your deal is one person at that label that's been assigned to work on your project and you are one of like 12 people in that person's portfolio. And by the way, this is not some like, 51-year-old experienced industry veteran with all the relationships. If you're at one of these small indie labels, the person who's your label rep is like some 23-year-old Steinhardt grad who was the intern 6 months ago and has no one in their Rolodex that can like help you in terms of connections. And like, that's the person that you have hitched your future to and given up your masters for and like, tied yourself to in a multi-year contractual deal.
And that's kind of what I wanted to get to. I remember years ago talking, I'm not going to say their name. I was talking to an artist and they were explaining to me that they were on a label and that their A&R guy, that's how old this is, their A&R guy at the time, they said, hey, how come we're not getting booked? And the A&R guy said back to them, literally, I represent other people who people call me because they want them. I don't waste time on you. And like
Jeez.
Nothing. And
with no sense of irony.
No, and their livelihood was tied to this. Like when that, as you can imagine, Ryan, that record went nowhere. The label had 3 more albums on the deal and said, we're not going to do anything else with you, but you can't make music anywhere else. And so the band has had to dissolve. They had no recourse because the guy at the label who's assigned to them also represented huge acts that people were just like chomping at the bit for. Meanwhile, these newbies got no love. So there you go, Ryan. Labels suck. Boom. I think we've said it for I'd say 10,000th time.
Well, yeah. I wish there was like some like massive like balloon drop that happened like the 10,000th time we said labels suck on this show. Ding, 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 ding. Like the millionth customer at a store. With a little bit of time left, I do want to hit a listener question I think is a pretty interesting one here, Zach.
Oh, yeah. I love this one.
Yeah, this is always fun when we can dig into copyright stuff around here. Listener question, Dear Ryan, I have a release coming out soon, and I just learned about copyright registration, and I have not registered my copyright yet. Should I hold up my release until I register? Great question. And I don't know how you just found out about copyright registration. Like maybe you were listening to this program where I was yelling about it and you went, oh, what's that? And you Googled it and you're like, oh God, that's really important. You are not alone, artist, in discovering the importance of copyright registration and immediately freaking out because you have not done it yet. And you are also correct that registering your copyright is important. And so I'll just quickly mention the reasons why, because it's worth kind of bringing up. You don't need to register your copyright to own a copyright. You have a copyright from the moment you create a work, from the moment you record your music onto a computer, the moment you write a song on a piece of paper, the moment you record your video into a camera, you have a copyright with all the protections of federal law that come with it. The reason why you register that copyright is if you register your copyright and you have registered it before somebody steals your work, you can get all kinds of really important legal benefits that are critical to actually being able to protect and enforce your copyright. So you register your copyright before somebody steals your work, you are entitled to statutory damages, which are a more easily obtainable set of damages from your infringer. You can get attorney's fees, which make it a lot easier to find an attorney to help sue in your copyright case. You also get a presumption of ownership. So you don't have to prove to the Copyright Office that you own this work. They will assume you own it, and then it's up to the infringer to prove that you don't. So it makes litigation more easy. It puts more money in your pocket when you win. It makes it easier for you to find an attorney to help you bring your infringement case. So copyright registration is really important. And as the letter writer is implying, it's very important to get your work registered before your work gets out there, so that you don't have a situation where somebody steals your work before you have a chance to register it. Now, here's the thing that helps you, letter writer. And so the answer to the letter writer's question is no, you don't have to hold up your release date. And, that creates more problems from a marketing standpoint, right? Because your fans are all waiting for the album. You probably told them that it's coming out. So you don't want to hold up your release date for some legal thing. And thankfully, the Copyright Office and copyright law has your back, because American copyright law gives you a 3-month window after you have published your work to register your copyright. And as long as you register it within that 3-month window after release, you still get all the benefits of registration, even if somebody steals your work before you register, as long as you're in that 3-month window. So the short answer is, don't wait, right? Register it right away, and it's very easy to do, and you can talk to lawyers to help you. And if you need any help, shoot me an email. I'll help you out. But don't wait, but don't feel like you have to hold up your release just because you haven't registered yet. You can put your music out as scheduled, and just maybe in the first couple weeks, prioritize getting your copyright registered. Definitely get it done within that 3-month window so you can get all the protections of registering your copyright.
Hey, Ryan, you want to hear something awesome?
Yeah.
So last week I released a new single, Conspiracy, right? When you sent me this email, I went, oh crap, I forgot to register the copyright.
And so are you feeling relief now?
Yeah, I had done it. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? It's already out. The 3-month thing, godsend. I also came across something that I wanted to ask you about. I came across I don't even think it was from the Copyright Office. Have you heard of this ability to pay about $1,000 to expedite processing on a copyright? Is that a real thing?
There is an expediting procedure. I don't know how much it costs, but yeah, when you fill out a copyright application, you can ask for like a faster approval. I don't think you would need that. So, if you there might be situations where you need expedited approval. It usually is because even though you don't need to register a copyright to own a copyright, you need to register a copyright before you can bring a lawsuit.
Yes.
And so, if you are in a hurry to sue somebody, you might be like, okay, I need to register this and register it fast so that I can bring this lawsuit. And then you might ask for expedited processing. But what you don't need to do is be like, oh my God, I need expedited processing and pay whatever that costs because I need to get this within the 3-month window. Because as long as you apply within that 3-month window and the Copyright Office has all of your materials, like your application, your deposit copy, as long as you get that in within the 3-month window, even if your copyright registration is approved after the 3-month window, your effective registration date will go back to the original date that all your materials were received.
And Ryan, you anticipated my question. I can tell you've done this before.
But the answer is, Zach, don't push it. Don't get to, 2 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days and be like, oh, let me do that registration. Do it now, man.
I'll do it tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Get it done. Get your musical composition, the songs that you wrote, get those registered. Get your sound recording registered, assuming you own your masters. Those are 2 different copyrights. Get them both taken care of, and please get it done within that 3-month windows, so that you can get all your protections. Because you got great music, and I know people are going to want to steal it. So
and make sure your PRO knows that you've got the music too, because you need to make sure you file it with them because they are going to pay you out some of those royalties. I just realized I forgot to tell ASCAP. I got 2 things to do tomorrow.
Zach!
Right?
Get it. Come on, man.
Listen, I was never an entertainment law attorney, all right? That's not my specialty. I'm a dumb guitar player who used to be a lawyer.
Tell me, right now, you're going, once the show is over, you're going to go through your emails right now to try to remember what your IPI number is, because you don't know it, right?
I don't have it memorized, but I go into my ASCAP account pretty regularly.
Okay, so you're
I can
like,
get to that.
What's IPI? Let me Google that.
Although it drives me nuts. Pro tip. I know I'm making this run long. Pro tip. On your split sheets, when you're doing co-writes, make sure that there's a space to have everybody put their IPI number so you don't have to look it up later.
Oh, that's a very good pro tip, Zach. Yes, indeed.
All of my split sheets.
You get their IPIs, get their PROs, because let's say you use a publishing administrator like Songtrust to help you administer the publishing. They're going to need that information too, and certainly your PROs will if you're just going to run it through the PRO. That is a very good pro tip, Zach. Very well said. Okay, let us take a break. We got Amar Faruqi coming up next. It's going to be a blast. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. And I'm checking, and it's loading. And yes, okay, Portugal did hold on to beat Croatia, everybody. And of course, the people who are listening to this are like, "Yeah, Ryan, your podcast came out this is 3 days after we know who Portugal beat," but it's news to me. God, the World Cup has been so much fun. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Zach Sloan. Are you watching? Are you a big soccer guy? I mean, I'm not a big soccer guy, but like I'll get into the World Cup every 4 years. Are you engrossed in the soccer?
No. Not because I don't want to be. I have a 4-year-old, and that takes up all my free time. So I love world sporting events because I think that's the most fun and the best way to do it. I hope at the next World Cup we'll have more time to watch.
See, now you're making me feel like a neglectful dad because we have similarly aged children, and I have the decency to leave my kid alone in their room, like looking at puzzles while I watch soccer. Like, come on.
Okay. Yeah. But my day job, I'm a teacher, so this is summer break. And if my daughter is like, "It's summer, Dad," and you're like, she won't allow that. During the school year, I could have gotten away with that. Right now, I cannot.
Now you must live in the fort behind you.
Yeah, have we not talked about the giant fort?
Yeah, okay, let's talk about the 800-pound fort in the room here. For the radio audience, there is just a giant pile of stuff behind Zach Sloan and his recording space there. And you're telling me it's some kind of fort?
My daughter is awesome. And oddly enough, she wanted to build a Dungeons and Dragons fort. And because she sees my D&D books with monsters and thinks it's cool. And so we took all these boxes. You'll notice this is mostly like speakers and sound equipment. It's not mine. My sister-in-law opened a gym, and this is the PA system for their gym, or the boxes. And so I just kept all the boxes, and Casey made a big old fort.
It does look really imaginative. I'm not clear why, and maybe this is just my own lack of understanding and experience of Dungeons and Dragons, why the Dungeons and Dragons game would necessitate a fort.
Okay,
I thought it was more of like a theater of the mind activity.
Listen, dude, she's 4. You can't go for a reason.
Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and bring out our guest this week. He is a singer-songwriter based in Brooklyn by way of Pakistan, a Fulbright scholar who traded a career in banking and marketing for music. Our guest recently released 12, a genre-fluid, self-crafted, Kickstarter-funded album written, recorded, and produced largely at home with collaborators from around the world. You can find his music on Bandcamp, Spotify, and Apple Music. We are happy to welcome Amar Faruqi on to Break the Business. Hello, Amar. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to be here with you guys and listen to your conversation. So we have so many questions about copyrights already.
Well, and also should note, we are happy to be joined by your wife and collaborator on this project, Deanne DeSobo. Great to have you both here. I hope our crazy freewheeling discussion from the prior segment, hitting on everything from tabletop role-playing games to federal copyright law and everything in between, didn't freak you out too much.
It answered a few questions, a few copyright questions, a few what's behind the boxes, and so I think we're relieved now.
Yeah, this is not a 7 situation with the boxes, all right?
Yeah, what's in the box?
Oh goodness. All right. I want to start with your backstory here, Mark, because we were kind of talking about it in the first segment, and joked that you sort of like kind of maxed out your stats in so many different areas in a way that just seems kind of unfair to the rest of us mortals. But your path is an interesting one into music. Before you got into music, you had a background in economics and business. You were a Fulbright scholar in marketing. You were in corporate America. And at some point in this journey of just being a kick-ass business person, you had a realization that you wanted to walk away from that world and give music a go. Talk to us about that transition and how scary was that leap for you?
Ryan, I remember the moment when my first job straight out of college after undergrad was HSBC. And immediately I was a corporate banker. I was in a suit. And a few months in, we were moved to the head office, and there was a head office building, and all the management trainees, the blue-eyed, select young guns were hired, and they were like shown the kingdom, and they were like, in 15 years you could be in that booth where the CEO now sits. And I was like, if in 15 years I'm in that booth, I'm going to jump out the window. And it was terrifying. And I kept at it. It was my day job, and there was lots of dreams, and there was always music. But somehow, I think I came from a professional academic background where my mother is a professional educator. She runs a school. I think from the first day I went to school, she started teaching, and so she had her own school system and everything. My dad was in the military. So there was a sense of like, get a career. A career is what you need to get down. And so the music was always on the back burner, and it was like, oh, it's a hobby thing, till I realized that nothing in my life that I was doing was actually making me happy. I was going through the motions, and I was able to do those things well, but I couldn't, for instance, envision the next 15 years as a banker. And that was a very harrowing, hollow feeling where everyone around you is excited, and you're like, I don't know what next year or the next 5 years are going to look like because my heart's not in it. So instead of getting bitter, I think I had the wisdom to realize that I can very easily get bitter, but I realized that maybe I'm holding the spot for somebody else's dream job. And I had been writing these songs. Oddly and funnily enough, I started playing the guitar and started writing these songs when I went to business school, because my friends weren't around and my guitarist wasn't there. And so I was like, shit, like there was for like a year and a half, there was no music in my life. And I was like, oh, it's behind me, business school, and I have my trajectory. But that withdrawal was so strong that one day I sat my friend in the car and I was like, drive me to the nearest guitar center and I'm going to buy a guitar. We bought a guitar, we come back home. He's like, what are you going to play me? And I was like, dude, I don't know how to play. But when I sat the guitar, I needed
Leap of faith.
Yeah. I needed a guitar that bad. And I just YouTube my way into the most basic of chords and music theory and everything. And Diane grew up in France. And so she had like an entire musical education. I had none. I was like business school background and everything. And so eventually when I started playing the guitar, I was always writing and singing. So these words and these stories came out. And by the time I came back after 2 years on a Fulbright, I had about 15, 20 songs, which I was just holding. And I was like, what am I doing with these? I'd play them by myself. And one of my best friends, this guy up there, is this Pakistani musician legend, Farhad Mayur, one of the best drummers in generations, and also created the indie scene. So when I was growing up, I'd see him playing in all my favorite bands. Like he was the backbone, and he was like the Wolverine kind of demeanor look, just super cool drummer. And so when we became friends, I one day worked up the nerves to go up to this legend and be like, hey, I have these songs and I don't know what to do with them. And he sat and patiently heard me out for like an hour and a half, didn't say a word. So for like an hour and a half, I was sweating bullets, playing music for this legend who's just staring at me across the room. And he's like, you need to do this, because anyone can be a banker, anyone can do the marketing job, the corporate job, but no one is going to write or sing these songs. And perhaps maybe that was the I maybe something I was looking for, and that was the green light saying that just do it. And had discussed it with other friends, and there were always questions about how will you do it, what's plan A, B, and C. He didn't ask any of those. He said just do it and you'll make it happen. And around that time when I started taking music seriously and I was playing these shows, I met this journalist, this French journalist in Pakistan who had just moved from Hong Kong. And I met her and I was like, nice to meet you, but I think I'm going to go to New York and become a musician. And she was like, let's do it. So,
What?
yeah. And she moved with her big corporation, which is like a big French news agency, and was able to secure a very coveted spot in New York. And so she's busy with that. I do my day job. And between that, it took us 3-4 years to make this album that you guys have heard. So that's a long and winding road to how we've ended
All right. I don't want to talk to Amar anymore. I got to talk to Deanne now. I gotta figure out what inspired that choice. Like you're in Pakistan, presumably you've met Amar, you've built a relationship there, and he's sort of like, hey, the banking thing's not really working for me anymore, but like I hit up a Guitar Center and I think I want to give that instrument a go. Not only am I having you stick with me, but like, let's go to New York. And you went, yup.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no problem there.
I mean,
Do I have the timeline right? Like, take us to like your thought process here, because this is amazing.
I think as in life, it happened like a little more gradually than that. We also started playing music together in Pakistan, which was not what I expected moving to Pakistan for my job as a journalist, as Amar said. But when we met and started spending time together, music, became really intertwined in that. And like Amar said, I grew up playing piano pretty much from, when I was a kid until I left my parents' house to go to college. And then I wasn't playing for a while. So when I met Amar, it reconnected me to music in a way that I hadn't realized how much I was craving that. And so that's how the music collaboration started, intertwined with the relationship. And then, if I'm honest, when the move to New York happened, like it was clear that Amar, he'd be doing the music thing, I'd have my journalism job. But little by little, I started collaborating more and more in the music. And then it was very smooth about it. It was like, play one song with me at this concert, play another song with me, and then let's jam. And then we just started, I started composing arrangements to the songs that Amar had already written. And then, when you jam, sometimes a song kind of happens out of nowhere. And next thing you know, you're like, oh, we've written a song together. Yeah. And so it was very gradual. But I think, the one thing like Farhad that Amar mentioned, as soon as I heard like the first song that Amar sang to me, I had tears in my eyes and I was like, oh wow, this guy can write a song, this guy can sing. So yeah, the songs gave me that belief as well.
Well, okay, so and you two not only make music, you co-produce these songs. Yeah. I have a question for you all, because in a singles-based market, you guys are you just released 12 song album, but you also released 4 singles ahead of the album, if I have that correct. How did you decide, A, that you wanted to make a whole album in today, which by the way I love and I'm not criticizing, and B, how did you pick your singles?
Fascinating. So like I said, there's an entire body of songs which we've been writing, and we've been now playing shows in New York since 2019. So the body of songs is close to 30-35 songs. So when we play shows, we play 5 or 6 songs from the first EP. Then we would just throw these songs and people kept coming back to the shows because each show was kind of different, because they'd be like, oh, we didn't hear that song. So there's a body of songs, but for this purpose, I think we started with a few, and it was just about which songs speak to one another and how they make sense. And there were the events of our life which were unfolding in a way which were telling a story, which was losing our best friend in the process very slowly to cancer. And so some songs were coming out of that. Some songs I had played for him. Some songs he had played on. And this is somebody who's saying, go to New York, just put your feet down, and I'm there, and we'll play MSG soon. And I was like, I'm just doing the footwork. You just get here. And so we lost him in this uh, in this tenor, this duration of time, and that kind of also defined this album. And we've had conversations. We've had incredible friends who've helped us throughout this process, and one of them is this incredible music industry veteran who's worked with big label, and somehow this guy, through the goodness of his heart, for weeks and for almost a year or 2
I
years,
think more than a year now.
every week has been on the phone, has been on video calls with us, guiding us through the marketing of it. And he's just been like,
Cool.
okay, this is the process. These are the things you need to be looking at. And so he really helped us navigate the release almost like 2 years in advance. And
Yeah,
he,
also because the album, like, we really finished recording it like summer 2024. There were some things we touched up, but he was the one to say, don't release it just yet. We'll take a lot of time to do it properly. And so that's why we laid out this plan thanks to him and decided to do
Yeah.
the singles.
So there's a body of songs that kind of work together. Like, if you'll notice, we removed all the romantic or the love songs. These are all kind of dense, either political or
Yeah.
deal with something heavy. So this is a very heavy collection of songs, and I purposefully removed all the love songs. So album number 2 or 3 will be cute, acoustic, warm love songs, and none of this heavy shit. But this was important to get out, and in a way, the songs were communicating to each other. And when we sat down, you've heard the songs. There's a range of soundscapes. We just went for it. We were operating from the gut, where we were like, okay, every time we do Fools, we get the room singing and something special happens. So we got to do Fools. Silence was one of the songs that just happened while we were working on another song in this room. And I went out, and Deanne was playing a loop, and I started singing immediately. And in those 3-4 minutes, we had that entire song with those exact lyrics.
Wow.
So it's always been a special song for us. And it's a very different song in terms of the direction of me going full falsetto, very Radioheady, Jeff Buckley. Maybe that's the future sound. I don't know.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say because you were asking about the choice of the singles, and there was a hesitation with Lighthouse, and then because of everything that was going on in the world, we both kind of started feeling that this was a moment for Faithful, and so we decided that Faithful would actually be the second single instead of Fools, which we pushed back. And and so it was like the moment was telling us Faithful needs to be heard right now. And so that's why it became one of the singles. And then Time, just because
It's just a very different song.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't heard anything like it, and it was also one of those creations which happened in the moment. Perhaps the most experimental of the songs, where it's our vocals stacked up with like a sitar bass, and one of the top South Asian sitar players is just riffing. And it's just our voices, and it's so haunting, and it's so beautiful. Like, and by the way, we recorded this album in this room. This is our apartment, and this is the little music room that we have. So we recorded it here, and we were looking at each other. And when we feel the hair standing on our necks, and we see like moisture in the other person's eyes, we're like, okay, this is something. We need to pay attention. So those are the barometers by which we guide ourselves. Yeah.
That's really special. And just what a really cool creation experience that must have been for you overall to have a recording that brings in so many different genres, so many different musicians from all over the world, all come into your apartment and you making that with them. Like that's so special. So all right, so let me kind of lay out what we have here now. Is we got about 5 minutes before we lose radio, and I do want to give you guys a chance to perform your song. So if you could indulge me, I want to get one more question in before that happens, real quick. Can you quickly give us a piece of advice for the viewers and listeners on how to do Kickstarter well? This album was the product of a successful Kickstarter campaign. Kickstarter fell in love with your project. Do you have any quick pieces of advice for the viewers and listeners on crowdfunding through Kickstarter?
We again had friends guiding us through, capable friends, and a quick advice would be it's not something you just jump into and set up an account and launch. It took almost 6 months of groundwork before the launch of the thing, the Kickstarter campaign. So we were doing the groundwork of setting up the Kickstarter. What are we going to do? Who are we going to approach? What are the lists? Who are we going to hit? How many times are we going to double tap or triple tap friends and colleagues and people? Changing our mentality because we hate asking or even sharing our music. And so the friend was incredibly important in that, and saying, you're not asking for anything, you're giving them something special, and you're giving them an opportunity to be part of this very special project. So that really changed our way of looking at things.
Get your pledges ahead of time, in short. Just know how much you're able to raise before you start the campaign.
Vital.
All solid pieces of advice, and thank you for sharing that. One of the singles from your album is Wander, which you've described as being about leaving the familiar behind and looking within for clarity, very strong themes of growth and rebirth. I would love for our listeners to hear this song and to have an opportunity to enjoy it as much as Zach and I have. Would you be willing to play it for us here on the show?
Absolutely. It would be our pleasure.
Fabulous. All right. We'll give you a chance to get set up there.
Thank you.
By the way, Ryan, I bet when they
Maybe tell.
when they released their album, they had all their copyrights taken care of.
But we do have some copyright issues, which we'll email and we'll keep discussing with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know where to find me. I'd be thrilled to help you with that. All right, you guys all set there?
Yeah.
We are all set. I'm gonna move.
All right. Amar and Deanne are bringing us Wanderer off their new album 12 here on Break the Business.
Here we go. Oh, I don't know what I've been told. It doesn't make any sense. All my life and all I'll do, I gave away. I put in a bag and kept it out of reach. Never to return, never to preach. I put it on a raft, set it out to sea. Never to return, never to preach. Never to return, never to. Oh, I've been lost and I've been found. It seems all my life. I've been dark and I've been dread. Hell, I've been the light as I sit here under the first tree. Me and my shadow, my own company. The less that I hold, the lighter I get. The lesson that hold me down, those lessons are so fun. I soon forget. I'll soon forget.
night is where I lay my head on this land. My handmade bed, my handmade bed, my handmade. I tried to shed my old skin, but it just won't let go. Memories and dreams of where I've been and who I was before. As I turn my back on it all, I wander from land to land. I taught myself how to grow. As I turn my back on it all, now it's plain to see I'm a prince and free. I'm finally free. I'm finally me. That was Wanderer.
Yeah, it was. That was Wonder by Amar Faruqi and Diane DeSobo here on Break the Business. Check out 12, people. It is a really special album. We're so glad you gave up the banking thing, man. That's really, really tremendous. Thank you all so much for being on the show this week and for sharing that wonderful song with us.
Great. And these are conversations that I hope will continue.
Absolutely. Our thanks to Amar and Deanne. Our thanks to Zach Sloan and producer Lauren. And thanks to all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.